and lit it for 12 days. And from that comes the 12 days of Christmas. Now, we don't prevent pagan symbols like the Yule log and the mistletoe and the evergreens to prevent us from celebrating Christmas. At Easter time, we have the Easter bunny and colored eggs, which were associated with the pagan religion of fertility. We don't let these pagan symbols prevent us from celebrating the resurrection of Christ. We use these symbols today, but we don't attach to them the pagan meanings with which they were once associated. In 1 Samuel chapter 28, we read about the experience of King Saul, the first king of Israel. During his young age, he was a person who was very meticulous in following God's will. But later on, he deviated from the right path. His heart was filled with hatred and jealousy, and he forsook the Lord. And the Lord, of course, forsook him. In 1 Samuel chapter 28, we read that he was bothered by the Philistines, who kept fighting against him and his army. And when he was at the hill of Gilboa, he felt threatened by the Philistines. And he consulted a witch, the witch of Endor. And asked her to bring up to him the ghost of Samuel the prophet. Samuel the prophet used to be King Saul's best advisor, but he was now dead. And so he asked the witch to bring him the ghost of Samuel the prophet. An apparition, he saw an apparition. He saw an old man covered with a mantle, and he thought that was Samuel. Most probably that was the devil who had disguised himself as an old man wearing a mantle, covered with a mantle. He was reprimanded by God for consulting a spiritist medium. King Saul attended a spiritist seance, so to speak. Although he saw a ghost that looked like Samuel, that ghost did not help him at all. And the next day he lost the battle and was killed together with his son. Remember the scripture reading for today. Moses told the Israelites to avoid participation in witchcraft, in sorcery, in interpreting omens, in casting spells, and in participating in spiritist seances and consulting spiritist mediums. These things are also prohibited for Christians. Jesus and the apostles did not abrogate this law, did not say that law no longer applies. And the Apostle Paul cautions us that be careful. The devil himself can appear like an angel of light. Once when I was in Kansas City, a Roman Catholic woman invited me to her home to have Bible studies. She said she wanted to know what Protestants believed, and she wanted to contrast it with what Catholics believed. So we started a Bible study at her home. Her husband and 3 children also participated. Things were going well for about 2 weeks. Once a week I went there and had a tailor-made Bible study for that family. And then, after a month, this lady called me up and she told me that she didn't want me to come to their home and continue the Bible studies. And asked why. She said the Virgin Mary appeared to her in a dream and told her not to believe only in the Bible, but she should also follow the traditions of the Catholic Church, and that the Virgin told her the traditions of the Catholic Church were on par with the Bible. So she told me, you only speak from the Bible, you don't quote from Catholic traditions. So the Virgin Mary told me that you couldn't be sent from God. Now, I'm sure that that woman did not see the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary would not tell anyone that traditions are superior to the Bible. She would never say that. So it was the devil that disguised himself very cleverly, looked like the Virgin Mary, and told this woman to discourage her from studying the Bible and discovering the truth. So it's very, very dangerous to rely on feelings and to believe in an occult or to participate in any demonic activity. In a few days, Halloween will be observed here, so be careful not to follow the demonic customs. I know in our neighborhood, parents no longer send their children to other neighborhoods. They only tell them to visit the homes of their neighbors whom they know and they trust. Why? Because in past years, some people gave trick-or-treaters muffins that were laced with marijuana. Some kids got poisoned candies. And last year, on Halloween night, arsonists torched 500 buildings. Now, most of those buildings were vacant, but some were not. But it was a hard night for the firefighters in Detroit to put out 500 fires and preventing them from spreading to inhabited neighborhoods. The Satanists, the witches, the Wiccans who live in the United States and in Europe say that Halloween is their most sacred day. The most sacred day in the calendar for the Satanists, by the way, who are recognized as a denomination in the United States, is Halloween. Halloween is their most sacred day. But of course this doesn't, as I said, pagan symbols don't prevent us from celebrating Christmas and Easter, and they can't and should not prevent us from celebrating Halloween as long as we don't attach pagan meanings to them. May the Lord help us and guide us to do what is right in His sight.